Welcome to the Mormon Medium Podcast, where we'll talk about spirituality, the paranormal, religion, and my journey in becoming a Mormon medium. I'm Nanette Ride. Thanks for listening. Now let's go have some fun.
Don't be afraid. Close your eyes. There's a moon overhead, but the sun will rise. Blood on our lips, such a poisonous bite. The sound of our hearts go bump, bump, bump in the night.
Welcome to the Mormon Medium Podcast. Today, we're continuing our conversation with Brenda Griffith. She does sound baths, and she is an expert healer. She is so knowledgeable, and she's going to share some more of her knowledge with us. So how long does a sound bath usually take you?
It depends on the client. I do anywhere from 15 minutes up to an hour. I don't go over an hour because it's hard for me to focus after that. I'm a blonde, what can I say? Anyway, so generally I do anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, but I can give you just a really quick so you can understand
We
a
would
little bit
love
about it.
that. Is this okay for people that are driving to hear this?
It should be.
Okay.
It's no
You
different
know
than if
how
they're listening to
music or-
Yeah. Usually when you go into a more meditative state is when you're laying on where you're sitting right now is where I usually have people lay down and you're in a restful state. And I also talk them into more of a meditative state.
Okay.
And we've also done the tuning forks. So they're ready to then allow the music to flow through them. So I'm not going to do that. You've already heard the tuning forks and kind of what they sound like, but I want to show you, because Dr. Bewley really was very big about the C and the G notes and the sound. And you already heard the C, high C, and then middle C. And then there's also the different C's. This is more of what we call the earth tones. So this one, you can hear is
Oh, yeah.
much deeper. And then this one. So these are what we call the earth tones, Mother Earth, Gaia. And you can hear those sounds. And so those are the sounds that I use a lot for tuning people up using the tuning forks.
That makes sense.
I love how she smiles and says that.
Right.
Tuning people up.
There's a sound bath joke coming at you right now. Get ready for it.
And you
It's a mom joke.
Yeah. You kind of heard the Koshi bells and what they sound like. And then it's really fun to use, I don't know if you can hear it.
Ocean.
Yeah. This is actually like a storm. You know, it's just called the hurricane. That's actually the name of it, is it's a hurricane rain. So that's really fun to have that going and play flutes with it. That's one of my favorite things.
So you
to
roll
do.
that, you just turn that over, and then you play one of
Yeah.
these,
One
what
of
is
the
that,
flutes.
50 different flutes that you've got there?
Something like that. So this is a C.
She's not joking.
She's not. She really
This
does.
is a high C. So it's more like the... Anyway, that's a higher C versus a flute that's in a lower C. And these are all wooden. They are the Native American style, not necessarily made by Native American, but Native
Now,
American
that last
style.
one was really small, and this one's really big.
Yeah, this one, I have little fingers, and these holes are much bigger than my fingers.
Ooh, I love this.
So you can hear the difference. This is, like I said, the holes are really...
That sounds like it takes a lot of breath
It
to
does.
make that one work.
The bigger the flute and the wider the flute. This is what we call a branch flute. This is actually aspen tree. I had 3 big aspen trees in my yard. That had
That
to
one
be
is
cut
so
down.
cool.
And you can't see this, but it's made just from a branch, and it's even got the shape of the branch. It's very primitive. And this is actually in the key of, I think it's a F sharp. So it's kind of got, to me, the sound is really breathy and very natural.
Yeah.
And it
That's
is.
beautiful.
It's just a tree branch.
I love the sound of that one.
My favorites are these yellow Alaskan wood. And this is yellow Alaskan cedarwood. It's a E. So each of these
I could go to sleep to that.
Yeah, that one and the A.
Yes. It gives me
This
chills. I'm not kidding.
Yeah. And that's the thing. They're very therapeutic. I had 3 flutes that I had for years and years. And then when my husband passed away, I gave up my flute playing because it was something we did together, and I just gave it up. But then after I got COVID and I couldn't breathe, and I needed to breathe again and needed to exercise my lungs, I got my flutes out.
That
And
is so much better than that torture device you made
The
me blow
spirometer.
into.
I used that too. And I actually reminded her that you needed to.
Yes,
She did.
I remember.
I bet you do. So I was using that spirometer, but this seemed to really help, and it was an incentive because I got a reward for it.
Right.
But I really struggled with playing the flutes. You're pursing your lips and playing them. But this is another
He
Alaskan.
cursed our name, by the way, when he was doing that. I like that
So
one too.
That
Anyway.
one's so crisp.
It's so
It
crisp.
is. That was an A. So generally, you really want to go
Yeah, the
higher.
one with the tree branch sounded like more organic.
Very.
Like, I think that's the only word that can describe it.
And then these would be for your real ethereal people that
This is like a
deal
piccolo
there.
size.
Yeah. So it's just a higher sound. But flutes are just one way to introduce tones, sound therapy. So it depends on the person. Sometimes I won't even play a flute because it's just not being called forth for them. But I do have... So it's kind of like a didgeridoo, but it's actually 2 flutes in one. And this is from an elderberry tree, and it comes from, it's like by Romania, but I can't think of the name of the place. But anyway, I was really surprised that I got it as quickly as I did because it was during COVID. It's one that really natural nature sound. And then you have your crystal, and the higher the tone, so this one is actually the chakra, crown chakra. This is third eye, throat, heart, solar plexus, sacral, and coccyx. And those sound different than when you go with your Tibetan bowls.
That is so cool.
And then you have your really high pitch. And then, of course, the steel drum is always fun when you come out of the gong.
Did I see?
And then, of course, you always have your wonderful. These are my favorite, some seed pods that I got in Peru. So this is a seed pod. They open it up, put the seeds inside, and then it was the young kids there that they used like a nail and did the designs on them. So I love these. But I have all different kinds of rattles and each one has a different. It was interesting when I was in Peru. Dr. Orlano was saying, this is what they use on the back of your kidneys when you have kidney stones. But you have 3 hours of doing this. It's like an ultrasound, is what he called it, an ultrasound. And I thought, well, yes, vibration. So that's another thing. When you look at healing with vibrations, with frequencies, an MRI, you've been an MRI, it's got a frequency to it. Ultrasounds have a frequency to it. So it's interesting, the more knowledge that we gain and more instruments that we come up with that can see into the body, the frequency of that machine is the frequency that allows it to see inside that body. So it's interesting how frequency has become part of the healing process and also as a tool for us to look inside the body and to see what it is that's causing that dis-ease in the body so that we can do something about it.
I love this.
So anyway, that's my spill, and I'm sticking to it. Oh, and then I have my drums. These are also great for rattles. And it's just bells.
They look like Santa bells.
Exactly. But they serve its purpose. It's got a different frequency to it. And then
Santa has a frequency.
these are Remo drums, and they're not made from animal skins. It's a fake, but it has a really good sound to it. And the reason I like them is if I'm traveling from a desert area to a winter area, I don't have to worry about tuning the drum because this animal skin isn't stretching or whatever. So I like the Remo drums, but I also have, it's a horse. So different sound, different frequency.
Very different, yeah.
Than it is. Oops. So it just really depends on the individual, what they're calling forth as far as the healing process, what it is that they need. And I like to pray before I have a client come in. I like to meditate. I do use incense, especially sage, because it's a natural antibiotic.
Well, and sage clears that negative energy too
it
that
does.
somebody might bring into the room or...
Yeah.
Well,
So-
wait a minute. So sage is a natural antibiotic.
It's a natural antimicrobial. So it's interesting to look at the use of sage, especially with your indigenous tribes. You talked about going into a sweat lodge, and they sometimes will use sage
Yes.
prior to and after
Yes.
because it cleans the air. So I like to use sage and a lot of others, but anyway,
Very cool.
yeah.
Brenda, thank you so much
You are
for
welcome.
letting us come into your home and for showing us all of this. It's amazing.
Well, and sharing your knowledge. Now, if someone would like to book a sound bath with you, how could they do that?
They just give me a call. My phone number is area code 435-680-3277. And we just work around my schedule and book it. I usually, like I said, do 30 minutes or the hour. And so for 30 minutes, it's $30. And for a full hour, it's $50.
Do you ever do remote balances with
I
the
don't.
sound?
I
Okay, so
don't.
they need to be here. They need to come
be
to
here.
St. George.
Yeah, they need to come to
All right.
I've never tried that. I have recorded. It's interesting that you brought that up because my husband had to go back and forth to Salt Lake a lot. I think it was last year or the year before to help his daughter with some issues she was having with her family. And I recorded a sound bath for him. And he said that's how he got to sleep at night, was putting the sound
interesting.
bath on so I could hear it. So, and people can go on. Like I said, you can go onto YouTube. I think I mentioned the website is called Mind is the Master Videos. Or you can just type in what frequency you want. Like if you want the 963, which is pretty high, then you just put in that 963 A to Z on YouTube and it'll pull up all sorts of things that you can listen to. So
Awesome.
I've never tried the remote healing. I'm not opposed to it. I've just never tried it. And so I'm not feeling as comfortable with that as I am with the others. But
That
I know
makes sense.
Dr. John Bewley does do remote with tuning forks and has recommended it. So I did do that with my nephew who has cancer and was using tuning forks remotely that way.
I'm curious because I do a lot of remote work. Most of my clients are remote. And what I do is I surrogate them, which is so powerful. And a lot of my clients, I've even had them say, I've had energy balancing remotely before and it doesn't work. And I always tell them, let's give it a try. If you don't feel something, I'll give you your money back. But they always feel stuff like during the balance. They're like, okay, wait a minute. Like my neck doesn't hurt anymore. Or wait a minute. Holy cow, I feel so much better, or whatever. But I'm wondering if you surrogate them, and then can you do the sound balance on yourself or the sound bath on yourself?
I do all the time.
Still have them on a Zoom call, but they get all the benefits because you're surrogating them and the sound is going through your own body. Dude, that would be so powerful. I think we're neighbors. We should try it.
I know Dr. John Bewley, during the courses that I took from him on using the tuning forks, he did that on all of us. His wife was a surrogate, and he would do that and say, okay, and then he would have some of us on the phone saying, okay, this is what I want, and then he would do it, and whoever got the benefit. That's the beauty of, again, faith.
Yes.
And trusting God and what God has created. And that is that when one benefits, there is an energy that is a domino effect that occurs. And in fact, I think in Force versus Nature with David Hawkins, he talks about that. And he talks about people meditating and those people that are very good meditators, how they are able to focus on a particular emotion, and then how that energy was measured and how it permeates out into the planet. And I think that they were saying that like someone like Christ, like Jesus Christ meditating would be equivalent to touching millions of people versus somebody, that maybe isn't meditating could reach 20 to 30 people. Well, if we all did that, if we all went into that meditative state where we really were calling forth that energy of love and light on this planet and that energy of healing for all of us, if we did it for ourselves, but we allow that to permeate out, you want to talk about real remote healing or real remote energy, I think it can start with just one person. But if we all connect that way, where we just say, hey, I know I'm with a group that at 7 p.m., and I have my clock set, it's going to be going off here in 13 minutes, where I pray and meditate at 7 o'clock for the planet every day. And I've been doing that for 2 years. And I keep seeing the vibration raised. I keep seeing things being revealed that we didn't think would be revealed. And I think it's this group, and there's probably 200 or 300 of us that we met through Facebook, and we made this commitment. And that's what we do at 7 o'clock, wherever you are, wherever 7 o'clock is at your time zone.
So anybody listening to this can join you
Yeah.
at 7 o'clock and pray for the planet and meditate, right?
Right.
I'm joining you.
That is awesome.
I think
love
that's
that.
amazing because it's a collective consciousness raising that vibration of the earth and our unity. Like we just had 9/11 happen, and everybody was like, I'll never forget. You know what I remember? I'll never forget the tragedy, but what I remember is seeing the unity that happened. When you're in New York City, you have all of the different boroughs that everybody lives in. Like I was in the Bronx on St. Patty's Day, and they're Irish, and I stand out like a sore thumb. Like I am so not Irish, and everybody stared at me. But after 9/11, it was a melting pot of everyone loving each other and supporting each other. That is what America is about. And I think that's what the world needs to be about. And we need to raise that consciousness. I love that idea.
Yeah.
Oh, love it.
Well, if you think about it, really, like I said, when we're born, we have all the tools.
Yes.
And they're taken away. They're not taken away. We forget them.
Yes.
And it's a matter of going through life and remembering them again. And I think that I look back and I think my biggest sorrow or biggest hang up when I look back on my life is I wish I would have raised my kids differently. I wish I would have raised them to be more in tune with who they really were.
Me too.
And who they
Yep.
really are, and to be in tune with that higher spirit and to truly trust themselves.
Yes.
And I didn't do that. I bought into the social norms and into the religious norms and all of those things. And I'm not saying that that's wrong either way. That's just, if I could change one thing, that would be the change I would make, is that I would instill in them the self-love.
Well,
that
who they are.
That they are absolutely limitless in what
Yes.
they can do, instead of all those social predators that we deal with mentally because we want to fit in instead of excelling to just be who we are and not realizing that there aren't boundaries for us. We set our own boundaries and we're limitless on what we can accomplish. And I think that that's somehow taken away from us. And I know where that comes from. It's from a very dark source. So we just need to let that go and let go of the fear and allow the love and the light and God to work through us. And that's one thing I love about the sound therapy is allowing the sound to work through you and taking out whatever. I have a friend who, she's amazing. And unfortunately, she was one that had COVID and then bought into the lie that her immune system wasn't good enough. And so she took the jab and unfortunately has had some pretty bad health issues with it. And one is that she developed cancer.
Oh.
And it was a very rare kind of cancer because the type of cancer it was a lymph gland. And generally 90% of those are benign. And she was in that rare, which we're seeing a lot of.
Yeah.
But so she's been using the tuning forks. She's been coming for sound therapy. She's already got through radiation. She sailed through it. She's doing great. She's back to work, doing fine, and she's in her 70s. So
Awesome.
I think that, again, it's a mindset. It's that faith in yourself and faith in that higher power.
Mm-hmm.
And everything's going to be okay. We need to start looking at all the things that are okay and letting go of the things that aren't, because we are powerful creators, and we get to honor that part of ourselves.
I think that's a great note to end on.
Absolutely, it is.
That's amazing. Thank you.
Brenda, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you being on the podcast. And if anyone out there wants to book with Brenda, we'll put her information in the show notes, as well as Nan. Thank you so much, Brenda. We really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Appreciate you guys.
You guys, we love you. We hope you have a great week, and we will see you
On the other side of the veil.